Days in the Sun. A Journey to the West fanfiction written by Jukebox Draws. Read by Jukebox Draws. Chapter 6. Pages. The monk distanced himself from Wukong a bit the next day, opting to venture out into the fields of fruit trees to collect peaches instead. He plucked the fruits from their places and put them gently in the wicker basket over one arm. The macaques gathered curiously, climbing trees and hanging from the branches. Sanzong smiled and played with the monkeys, chasing them through the brush and letting them hang from his arms by their tails. Wukong watched from the distance, on a lower peak of the mountain's face. He gently touched his arm, wrapped in bandages, as he looked down at the monk. His actions the previous night were rash and foolish, even for someone with as little relationship experience as himself. It had been an exceptionally long time since he met anyone who didn't want to kill him. I've never felt this way about anyone. He makes me feel safe, like Guan Yin did. The Monkey King felt the loving warmth fill his body. Sanzong tempted him like no mortal had ever tempted anyone before. Soft brown eyes that held nothing but kindness, begging him to be lost in their depths forever, and he would willingly answer the siren's call. I want to do something for him, the simian declared, slamming a fist on the rock. The small monkey sitting next to him bounced excitedly and whispered something in his ear. You think he'd like that? Wukong raised a questioning eyebrow as his advisor nodded enthusiastically. All right, I'll give it a shot. Later, Sanzong had brought the fruits back inside the cavern and arranged them in a bowl. The monk knocked on the door to Wukong's bedroom. Come in. He pushed open the door to find Wukong laying in bed. Wukong, I wanted to apologize for last night. The monk bowed quickly and set the bowl of peaches next to the bed. I was rather overdramatic. No, Wukong closed his eyes. I should apologize. I was foolish. Sanzong's eyes widened. Wukong apologized? To him? It's all right, he said, a little struck. The Monkey King cracked an eye open and looked over at the perfect peaches sitting in the bowl. He took a bite out of one. Oh! Wukong dropped the fruit and wiped his mouth on his sleeve. I wanted to show you something! He grabbed the monk's hand and quickly got out of bed. The Monkey King led Sanzong to another large set of doors. Close your eyes, Wukong bit his lip, bouncing a bit with giddiness. Sanzong gave him a questioning look. It's a surprise, Wukong quickly explained. The monk gave a soft exhale of resignation before closing his eyes. Wukong took Sanzong's hands in his, running his thumbs over the soft knuckles that had never once been used for violence. He led the monk slowly into the room, pushing the doors open with his foot and tail. Can I look now? Sanzong asked, impatient as ever. No, not yet. Wukong led him to the center of the room. Wait here a moment. He ran to the windows and ripped down the sheets that covered them. Beautiful stained glass filled the room with sunlight broken into a myriad of colors, bringing life back to the desolate corner of his castle. Wukong, Sanzong called in a warning tone, eyes still closed. Okay, now you can look. Wukong couldn't help the huge grin as the monk opened his eyes and gasped. The library was huge, nearly as large as the simian's throne room. The stone walls were lined with small engravings, just big enough to fit large bunches of scrolls and books. Sanzong didn't think he had ever seen such a large volume of paper in one place. Oh, Wukong, I've never seen anything like this! Sanzong spun around to take in the library in its entirety. You like it? The Monkey King asked hesitantly. Oh, Wukong, it's wonderful! Then it's yours, all of it. The monk turned back to the king, standing in the center of the room. He took his hand and smiled wide. Thank you so much. Sanzong made good use of the library, pulling down scroll after scroll and reading to his heart's content. Wukong watched all the while with a grin on his face. May all be reborn in the land of bliss, Sanzong read aloud, sitting next to Wukong on the bed. Wukong leaned his head against the monk's shoulder, fully enraptured by the story and the man who was telling it. To end this present life of retribution. The end. Could you read it again, please? Wukong gripped the monk's arm like a child begging for a treat. Well, here, why don't you give it a try? You read it to me. Sanzong placed the scroll in Wukong's lap. The Monkey King flushed pink. Okay. He stared at the characters for a solid minute before making a face that could only be described as completely ignorant. What's wrong? Sanzong asked. You can read, can't you? Wukong turned his head away. Sanzong felt like the worst person on the face of the planet at that moment. I can't. Wukong flushed red. You never learned? The monk asked. I learned! Wukong snapped and then pouted. A little. It's just been a while. Well, here. Sanzong scooted closer to him, moving the scroll so it was over both of their laps. I'll help you. The monk pointed to a set of characters. Let's start here. Okay. Wukong placed his finger on the page where Sanzong had indicated. He scrunched his face, trying to remember the characters and what they meant. The divine? He looked at the monk and blushed as he saw Sanzong attempting not to giggle at his cruel mispronunciation. Divine, Sanzong corrected him. Right, divine. The divine root conceives, and the spring breaks forth. Very good, Wukong! Sanzong smiled. The simian flushed pink again, for an entirely different reason. The monk rested his head in his hand as Wukong continued to squint at the characters, messing up a few times, but overall managing to read the first paragraph without much trouble. Sanzong found himself not quite interested in the story itself, but instead looking at Wukong. The monkey's face scrunched in concentration and determination as he ran his finger over the parchment to keep his place as he read. New and a bit alarming, the monk thought to himself. Wukong may have had the title of king, but he acted far from it. While every human king Sanzong had met was regal and poised in his movements, the simian acted coarse, unrefined, and rowdy. But now, even after the foolish displays of the past few days, he became so unsure and timid when speaking to the monk. Sanzong wondered why he didn't see any of those things before, as he corrected Wukong on another crude mispronunciation. To be continued in Chapter 7.